So hi, I'm Melody. Thank you so much for being here. I I came to this point because I needed a platform to cultivate community, connection, and learning. And I got to this point in the season. This was going to be a really busy spring for me personally. And I came into it realizing that I was having a ton of emptiness. And so with that energy, I decided I've got to put this somewhere because it was definitely going to not end up in a productive place if I didn't. So I called Kirsten and I said, hey, I've been thinking about this. And I was so grateful and humbled that she wanted to support me. And we put this through PSIA Northwest. This will be ongoing every Friday, 4:30, grab a drink, and maybe learn something new. Or maybe hear something a new way for you. Maybe it's something that you've heard 50, 60 times, 100 times ad nauseum. And maybe this time you'll hear it differently. So I encourage you to listen with an open mind. We're going to take a pathway that's really dictated by those of you who show up regularly. So if you're someone who says, hey, I'm going to do this every week, I want your input. I want to know, who do you want to hear from? What kind of questions do you have about the topics that we're talking about? And that'll give me some motivation to dig into finding guests to come on here and talk with us, or to dig up some literature that might help support your questions. We're going to start by digging into the people skills. And we already have a guest lined up. And what we're going to do is our system will look like doing a little reading before we talk to someone. So getting a little foundation, and what I hope will happen is you'll have questions, right? So you'll have questions that you can send to me, or I'll come up with, or I'll jot some of your questions down. But in general, it's kind of like showing up for a clinic, right? We'll do what you want, all right? And again, though, the other thing is, I'm not the expert. I'm learning with you. Right? So this is also my journey that I'm bringing with you. You all on with me. So thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Awesome. If there's ever any technical difficulties, please, speak up. I certainly don't want to continue on and realize later that no one could hear me. I've done my best to prepare. I've set up some lighting and tried to pad this room that I'm in. So there's a couple extra dog beds in here to hopefully manage the sound, right? So I have done my best, but also there's something I want to take some ownership for, is that this is my first time, right? So the truth is that I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to fail, and I'm going to learn how to take ownership, and I'm going to learn how to work with you all as I do those things. So I appreciate it in advance, and thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I'm going to check my notes and make sure I said everything that I wanted to before we kick things off. Wow, look at this. My memory is working. This is phenomenal. Awesome. Great. So I do want to start out with a quote. And this is one that speaks to me and really speaks to the way that I connect with my students when it comes to on-snow learning experiences. And that is, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's from good old Teddy Roosevelt. And this brings me to a place where the truth is my connection with my student is the most important thing that I can do. And as we bring in people skills, right, it provides us this opportunity and this platform to offer teachable skills to ourselves and also to those around us that gives us ways to connect with people, right? I know that for my school, and for me, success means my student wants to come back and do it again. They want to ski again. They want to snowboard again. They want to come out and play in the snow again. And for me, that means that I've been successful in creating a positive on-snow experience. All right? Awesome. Okay, so we're going to start out. We're going to dive into the people skills, and I'm going to read to you. All right? So if you want to turn to page 19, in your Snowsports Manual. Awesome, I see some book turning, I love it. This is so great, thank you. Excellent. All right, so starting at the top, the learning connection, people skills. People skills are about relating with others in a productive way and showing a genuine desire to establish an environment where positive outcomes can be achieved. For instructors, people skills are the basis for interacting with students, whether on or off the slopes. You must establish trust with your students for them to feel confident, taking risks, and be open to new learning. People skills are also the key to making the learning partnership a lasting and memorable experience. Objectives. Understand what people skills are and why they are important. Learn to apply emotional intelligence, self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management in the learning environment. Understand the basic tenets of human interaction, trust, likability, and expertise. Learn about verbal and nonverbal communication and active listening. Introduction. Think about the people you know who feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and feelings with you, and with whom you feel at ease sharing your beliefs. The relationship you have with them is most likely based on strong people skills. These skills involved understanding your own emotions and appraising the emotions of others, as well as the abilities to listen, show empathy, build trust, and more. As an instructor, you teach students whose backgrounds, personalities, and values are very different. To interact with them successfully, it's important to continually develop and strengthen your ability to communicate effectively. Yet the information here is not written in terms of snow sports specifically. It addresses the attributes and characteristics that underlie positive interactions regardless of the environment. The following sections explore people skills by delving into the emotional intelligence skills that provide the basis for meaningful relationships. Emotional intelligence. People are intelligent in many ways. We often think of intelligence in terms of cognition, such as being good at math or having a high IQ. Yet people also have varying degrees of emotional intelligence. Through extensive academic research and contributions of psychologist Daniel Goleman, the study of emotional intelligence has contributed greatly to the understanding and using people skills in the workplace and in our personal lives. Emotional intelligence is about recognizing and understanding emotions in yourself and others, managing your own emotions, and influencing the emotions of others. The components of emotional intelligence are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. Self-awareness. Self-awareness is about identifying and understanding your emotions. It is an interpersonal skill, meaning that it occurs within the mind. Internal feelings such as joy, love, anger, fear, or sadness influence how you act. As an adult, you are most likely aware of your emotional tendencies in certain situations, both as strengths and weaknesses. Ongoing and careful attention to how you act and react will provide you with insight into building meaningful relationships. Self-awareness involves careful consideration or reflection concerning the cause and nature of your emotions, as well as your outward reaction to them. This may happen in the moment or much later after something occurs. Notice what makes you smile, overreact, or feel vulnerable. These self-reflections will help you become more aware of your feelings and how you behave as a result. It's helpful to recognize how you tend to react in certain situations and consider how you can respond in the future. Your reflection may provide clues to how you can turn negative emotions into positive behaviors. To be more aware of your emotions, try to place yourself in real life situations for each of the following of the statements below. Sense how you felt and recall how you tend to respond in certain situations. Ask yourself, when I feel unsure of myself, I feel blank and tend to respond by blank. When I accomplish a goal, I feel blank and tend to respond by blank. When I realize I made a mistake, I feel blank and tend to respond by blank. When someone is upset, I feel blank, tend to respond by blank. When someone suddenly understands, I feel blank and tend to respond by blank. When people don't listen to me, I feel blank and tend to respond by blank. I want to pause for a moment, and if anyone wants to be brave and share something that showed up for them, I'm happy to reread a couple if you don't have yours in front of you. So there are 6 of them, and by no means would you need to share all of them, but if you wanted to do some, I did fill out my own. I see Katie grinning at me. Hi, Katie. All right. All right, so I filled out a couple of these for myself. Let's see. How about when I feel unsure of myself, I feel anxious and I tend to isolate. And I tend to speak really quickly or not talk at all, or even speak more than I maybe should. All right. Awesome. Shannon, do you want to share one?
Are you saying me, Shannon?
Yeah, I am.
Well, I had that first one when I mean, I answered them all, but I am kind of the same way. When I feel unsure of myself, I feel scared and I go quiet. So yeah. I do that. The fourth one, I thought, well, that's a little, it depends on what the person's upset about. You know, are they upset at me, or are they upset with something that happened to them? So if they're upset at me, I tend to go passive or get upset back. If it's something they're upset that happened to them, I tend to try to get from them, what are they upset about, and try to talk to them. So those are my couple thoughts there.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Thanks for being brave. Awesome. Does anyone else want to share one that they filled out? I know this is probably a little scary. Our group is still under 20.
Melody, I can share.
Yeah.
Jeffra. So I don't know if you can hear me, but
I can hear you. Yes.
With the second one, when I accomplish a goal, and I can't remember, I don't have my book in front of me, so I can't remember the whole thing. So you read it to me?
Yeah. When I accomplish a goal, I feel, this is the blank.
Okay, so when I accomplish the goal, I feel excited.
And tend to respond by?
And tend to respond by just jumping up and down sometimes, depends upon what the goal is. Or if if I'm on my skis, I'm, maybe skiing faster. So, but it's, something that shows gleefulness.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I love that. I will share mine around goals. So, and I want to pause and say part of the reason that we're working through these is I think it's really important to identify what these feelings are. Oftentimes we kind of skim over them and we pause, and we don't really pause to say, oh, what actually is that? And also taking it a little step deeper of like, is that really how I feel? So when I accomplish a goal, I actually feel defeated and exhausted. I have a really hard time enjoying celebration. And I oftentimes, if I haven't been vulnerable and let people in, I feel super disconnected and I self-criticize. If I have let people in, maybe I feel a little bit uplifted, but that's something that I'm working on very specifically. So that one is tough. And then for me, when someone is upset, I feel compassion, and I tend to respond by moving in. Right? I encourage you all to work through these, and as we near towards 5 o'clock, I'll drop a link into a little worksheet that I've made. That's a little PDF that makes it easy to fill out and kind of work through this. I found that when I was working through it in the manual, there wasn't enough space for me to write all my different answers. So, all right. Excellent. Anyone want to comment on that so far? No? Great. Let's keep.
I like the space for reflection. To me, that's where I've gotten the most value out of reading these chapters and practicing this daily. It does make a difference.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, Katie. I appreciate it. That's great. Excellent. All right, moving on. Think about how you would self-assess your emotional tendencies. In most interactions, are you calm or do you tend to be reactive? Are you more likely to be quiet and reserved or outgoing? You may find you are very expressive in some situations, but less so in others. Although it's typical to think about an interaction immediately after it happens, practice daily self-reflection to become more aware of your emotional tendencies. Make time each day to check in on your feelings. Carefully consider an interaction you had during the day. What went well and what did not. Set aside this time to evaluate what you said, why and how you said it, how you felt at the time, and reactions of the other person. Also consider how you would like to communicate the next time a similar interaction occurs. Learning how other people perceive you is another form of self-awareness. It is often helpful to know how other people sense your emotions, attitudes, and personality. At an appropriate time, ask for insight about your behaviors and reactions. When you ask someone for meaningful and personal feedback, be sure to ask specific questions. For example, I'm working on becoming more self-aware. Based on our interactions during the past few weeks, I would really appreciate knowing how you perceive my behavior and reactions. Specifically, do you feel I listen to your points of view? Do I come across empathetic, frustrated, happy, interested? You could add, if you'd like to think about this, please let me know when would be a good time for us to talk. Right? Self-awareness, it's encouraging to think here in the manual a little bit more. Self-management. Self-management is about taking charge of your emotions to achieve a positive outcome. When you're aware of your emotional tendencies, the next step is learning to control them in a positive way. This is accomplished by controlling your reaction. What you say or do in a conversation or situation. How you manage your emotional behavior is influenced by the person with whom the interaction takes place. The state of the relationship, past experiences, and the other person's traits impact how you moderate your behavior. To manage your emotions, strive to be, this is great, we've got a little glossary to work through, thoughtful. Consider the options for how you might react in a situation. Whether you feel challenged, confident, threatened, excited, angry, happy, rather than act on impulse, make a conscious decision based on your preferred outcome for the situation. Consult your knowledge of past interactions to help determine a best path forward. Patient. I find this one hard sometimes. At times, it's difficult to hold back and wait for the right time to speak. Yet, this is essential because an immediate reaction may be based purely on emotion, whereas a purposeful response is usually more productive. Flexible. Be open to adjusting your viewpoint and emotional response as the topic evolves, rather than having a fixed mindset. You may want to react differently as an interaction progresses. Focused. It's difficult to know how to react if you're confused or unsure about a situation. It can be helpful to frame what has been said in your own words for clarity. To reach a positive outcome, you may also need to frame something differently or reframe a conversation. Honest. Act with integrity. Be true to yourself and what you believe, rather than say what you think another person wants to hear. Ooh, let's hear that again. Be true to yourself and what you believe, rather than say what you think another person wants to hear. Respond honestly and sincerely to earn the trust of others. respectful. Even in an emotionally charged situation, acknowledge that other people may have viewpoints quite different from your own. Avoid confrontation and behavior that may be perceived as rude. Try to diffuse emotionally tense or threatening situations by listening and staying curious. Curious. We often frame things in terms of assumptions we make and our past experiences. But when we take an "I wonder" attitude, it opens us to perspectives we might never have considered. Non-judgmental. It's reflexive to past judgment, and we do it often. To listen or speak non-judgmentally takes practice, but can be disarming to others and open doors to more honest and positive communication. These are good. All right. It's often helpful to know how you might react before you encounter a situation. This can have negative consequences for people who get themselves worked up in anticipation of an interaction, but in most situations, you can use this foresight to calm and moderate the way you might respond. After all, the purpose of self-management is having the ability to override emotions that would be detrimental, especially when you're struggling to be thoughtful, patient, flexible, honest, and respectful. Let's take a pause. Does anyone have any questions or comments? All right, let me see. I think, oh, perfect. All right, I'm gonna read the last box and then we're gonna wrap up for today and I'll give you a little foresight into what's to come. All right, self-management. Reconsider the previous statements about your emotional tendencies, considering how you would like to respond the next time similar situations arise. For example, when I feel unsure of myself, I feel blank and would like to respond by. It's nice reframing. All right, we're gonna stop there. It's the bottom of page 23 if you're following along. All right, just a couple of housekeeping bits. Our first special guest will be Linda Cowan. She will be, when we are ready for her, she is ready for us, right? I am putting a lot of emphasis on reading through the content really slowly because I want to make sure we understand it. And then down the line, and I'm not going to get too far ahead, so I'll let you know our next two guests. Dave Lyon's going to be joining us. Hi. Kirsten's waving.
I didn't want to interrupt you too much, but just so that we make sure that everyone is included in who Linda is and who Dave is. Maybe you're already planning to do that, but I just wanted to make sure so we don't leave anyone behind.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kirsten. Appreciate it. So Linda Cowan was on the Northwest Technical team for, I'm going to wait until I totally introduce you to give you too many details, but she's put a lot of work into the Teaching Snowsports Manual and has a lot to offer us. Dave Lyon was on the original task force for the people skills and now is kind of working a little bit more externally. He did give a presentation on people skills with Ann Shorling at Ushuaia and has a lot. When we were doing our prep call, he had a lot to offer that I think will help kind of debunk and answer some of the questions around misunderstandings. And so both of those guests will be great people to bring your questions to. So if you're kind of lingering and thinking, gosh, am I going to be judged on my personality? Both guests will have some awesome perspectives to share with you and maybe some guidelines or some guidance that can help kind of put you on a pathway that might help feel more supportive for your experience. All right, so housekeeping bit. This Zoom link is going to change starting next week. From then on, it will be consistent. Something I do with my any kind of regular Zoom call that I have is I actually take the link and the information and I put it into my calendar. And that makes it easy for me because then I just open it up on whatever device I have access to and click it, and then you're here. And then let's see, what else did I put on here? I told you about some guests, most hopefully tease you. And yeah, so change of link for next week. All right, so this one's a one-time, let it go to the wayside. All right, and then you can save it from then on. We have Linda Cowan coming up, Dave Line coming up. And is there anything that stuck out to anyone? Is there something that came out of the manual or something that you heard someone share that you feel like would be of value to share with the group? I can hear it like someone's off mute. Is that you? Awesome. All right. I invite you to think in that framework as we move through our content of one of the things I value when I'm in a learning, on a learning platform is oftentimes someone else will hear something that I valued, but it wasn't the thing that stuck with me, right? So it's possible that someone else in the group heard a word differently. And when they speak it back to the group, it gives me an opportunity to hear it maybe in a deeper way, or a way that's going to stick with me, or a way that I can share with someone else. And I encourage you over time, and as we get to know each other better and have more social time together, that starts to become part of how we share together. All right. Any questions? No? All right, I'm gonna drop a couple things in the, oh, thank you, thanks, Katie. I'm gonna drop a couple things into the chat, including my email address and with a little bit of instruction. So don't log off before you've grabbed that information. And please email me if you have questions or suggestions or concerns or anything. I'm super happy to get back to you. And I do want your ideas. Again, those of you who want to show up regularly, we're on this journey together, right?
And Melodie, you're going to put that in the chat feature?
I am going to put it in the chat.
And just in case, I know many people are on Zoom all the time. For those of you that do not have the pleasure of being on it daily, if you just scroll near the bottom, kind of wake up your screen a little bit, and the chat function's there, and it's going to pop up for you with the link that she's going to put there.
Awesome. For those of you who rolled in late or on time, hey, cheers. That's all we were doing before you showed up. Great. To everyone. All right. Okay, first link is in. There's a couple of just guidelines. Don't worry about those. But again, that last paragraph here is for just if you want to shoot me an email, and then just asking you to put PSI and Virtual Apres in the subject line for me. That'd be very helpful. And then I did promise you all that I'd drop in this PDF. And if for some reason we're unsuccessful, then I'll figure out, we could probably put a link somewhere else that you all can get to. So don't fear.
Yes, I will put it, just like how you found the Zoom information here, I'll make sure and put it on the calendar for next week, along with, like, if Melodie has more reading for us to do ahead of time, I'll make sure it's all on next Friday's information too. So if you don't find it right now, no worries. If you lose it between now and then, no worries. We'll get it there for you.
Awesome, thank you. Thanks, Kirsten, I appreciate all the support. I have a feeling that link's not going to work. No, okay, it will be in, my PDF is not sending cleanly, so we'll make sure that gets to Kirsten and you all can click on there. And it's just a simple worksheet that's easy to print out, all right? Awesome. All right, it's 5 o'clock. Go enjoy the sun or the slight overcast for those of us here in Central Oregon, which I always enjoy. It's really, really good to see everyone's faces. And again, little by little, right? Like just a little each week. It's a nice way to dip in and to start to work through our people skills to begin with and just see where all of this content takes us, right? Shoot me an email if you got a question or if you have a topic you want me to cover, all right? We'll see you next week, same time, same place.
Thank you.
Happy weekend, happy Friday. Good night.